My sister banned me from her wedding, so I went on vacation. Then everything fell apart, and my family blamed me. This is a brand new channel, and we're pouring our hearts into bringing you top-quality stories. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button and help us hit 1,000 subscribers. Now, let's get into it. Growing up, my sister Lisa and I never had a picture-perfect bond. Our relationship was complicated. Lisa was always seen as a golden child, the one who could do no wrong, constantly praised and adored by our parents. I, on the other hand, was quieter and more self-reliant, rarely fitting into the mold my family had laid out. While Lisa thrived on the spotlight, basking in praise and attention, I was more comfortable in solitude. Still, despite the differences, I always stood by her. I clapped the loudest for her victories and lent a shoulder during her low moments. But everything began to shift when she got engaged to Matt, her boyfriend of several years. From the start, something felt off. I wasn't included in any part of the wedding planning. Initially, I chalked it up to simple oversight. Maybe she was just overwhelmed with preparations. But as weeks passed, the pattern became obvious. I was being intentionally excluded. No invitation to go dress shopping. No calls about the bridal shower. Not even a whisper about the family meetings where plans were being made. My parents, of course, were deeply involved in all of it. Each time I approached Lisa about it, hoping it was just miscommunication, she brushed me off with excuses like, "Oh, it was super last minute," or "I didn't think it'd be your thing." But the breaking point? That came when I caught a glimpse of the wedding invitations, and my name wasn't on them, not even as a guest. Shocked and hurt, I confronted her. I needed to know why I, her sister, was being completely shut out of such an important milestone in her life. Her response was cold and patronizing. She told me the ceremony was going to be small and intimate, and she only wanted people there who'd been part of her journey. When I pointed out that random acquaintances had received invites while I, her own sibling, hadn't, she simply shrugged. "I just don't think you'd mesh well with the vibe. Don't take it personally," she said. But it was personal. Deeply so. When I turned to my parents for support, they took her side. "It's her day," they said. "She has the right to decide who's involved." No one seemed to care about how deeply hurt I was. Like my feelings didn't count. So I made a decision. If they didn't want me there, then fine. I wouldn't be around when things inevitably spiraled. I booked a week-long trip to a tropical getaway, turned my phone off, and disconnected from all the noise. While Lisa walked down the aisle, I was lounging under the sun, toes buried in soft sand, a cocktail in hand, and feeling a kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. For once, I wasn't contorting myself to fit into a family that barely acknowledged me. I thought I'd be overwhelmed with guilt, but it never came. I didn't feel bad for skipping out. I felt relieved. No fake smiles, no awkward small talk, just stillness. That peace lasted until the second day of my vacation. I had turned my phone back on for a moment and was immediately bombarded with missed calls and frantic messages. My parents, extended family, even relatives who hadn't spoken to me in months. All of them were suddenly desperate to reach me. I ignored them at first. I figured it was wedding drama. Maybe a guest spilled wine on the dress or something equally ridiculous. But the messages kept coming. They grew more frantic, more emotional. Eventually, curiosity won. I listened to one of my mother's voicemails. Her voice trembled with a mixture of anger and desperation. "Lisa needs you," she said. "How could you leave your family like this? I can't believe you just disappear." Confused, I finally picked up when my dad called again, and what he told me left me speechless. Lisa's dream wedding had turned into a full-blown disaster. Matt, her fiancé, had gotten cold feet, but not just nerves. A full-on emotional breakdown moment before the ceremony, right in front of everyone. He admitted he wasn't ready to get married. Then he walked out, just like that. Guests were stunned. Lisa was devastated. The whole carefully planned event crumbled. And somehow, amidst the chaos, my family decided I was partly to blame. According to my mom, if I had just been there, I could have calmed Matt down, talked him through it, or at the very least, stood beside Lisa when everything came crashing down. as if my mere presence could have patched over the cracks in their relationship. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. The same people who had pushed me out, who acted like I was irrelevant, were now furious that I hadn't shown up to fix everything. Suddenly, I became the missing piece everyone had overlooked and now desperately needed. The irony was unbearable. I told my dad plainly. I was on vacation, and I had no intention of ending it early. Lisa had made her choice. She didn't want me involved when everything was going smoothly, and she didn't get to call me in now that things had gone off the rails. The backlash was immediate. My mother labeled me selfish. Aunts and uncles I rarely heard from chimed in, accusing me of being cold-hearted. And Lisa, the same sister who hadn't spoken a word to me in months, suddenly branded me the worst sister ever for not flying home to console her. But I stayed firm. I had spent too many years being treated like I didn't matter, only useful when someone needed something. If they truly wanted me in their lives, it had to be mutual, not just when they were falling apart, and just when I thought the worst of the drama had passed. Something came to light that changed everything. After returning from my trip, I braced myself for the inevitable face-off with my family. The messages hadn't stopped, some filled with guilt-tripping, others with outright hostility. Lisa, from what I'd heard, had been inconsolable since the wedding crumbled. But what I never expected, Matt reached out. He sent me a long message, heartfelt, apologetic. He said he was sorry for how everything had unfolded, for walking out, for the chaos he caused, and most of all, for dragging me into it. I was puzzled. Why was he apologizing to me? And then he dropped the bomb. Matt hadn't left because of simple cold feet. According to him, it was like he had finally snapped out of a daze. He told me he'd been uneasy about the wedding for months, but Lisa, and even my parents, had been pushing him to just go through with it. He confessed that deep down, he knew he wasn't marrying her out of love anymore. He was doing it out of fear of disappointing everyone. But in the final days before the wedding, something shifted. He told me that one of the clearest red flags came from watching how Lisa treated me. He noticed how easily she cast me aside, how she didn't even acknowledge my absence during all the wedding preparations. That coldness, that dismissive attitude, it opened his eyes. He said it made him realize that it wasn't just me. Lisa treated anyone who didn't fit into her idea of perfection the same way, like they were disposable. He started reflecting on their entire relationship, how often she ignored his concerns, how frequently she chose appearances over honesty, image over substance. I kept thinking about you, he wrote, about how unfair it was that your own sister could treat you like that. And then I realized she does that to me too. I was floored. All this time, I thought Lisa excluding me was just her usual brand of favoritism. But it ran deeper than that. It wasn't about family dynamics. It was about control. She had built a world where everything had to look perfect, even if it meant sidelining the people who genuinely cared. And in the end, both Matt and I had become collateral damage in that fantasy. A part of me pitted Lisa, but a larger part of me knew she'd orchestrated her own downfall. She had created an environment where love came second to appearances, and it finally caught up with her. When I shared Matt's message with my parents, they flat out refused to believe it. They said he was just trying to justify his cowardice, that he was blaming Lisa to avoid accountability. But I knew better. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to convince them. Lisa eventually cut me off completely. She accused me of turning Matt against her, and still holds me responsible for the wedding's collapse. My parents haven't really forgiven me either. There's still a lingering tension any time we speak. But despite it all, I feel no regret. Because for once, finally I chose me.